Hello everyone, I have logged off from work, it is sunny outside and it is time for a brand new episode of Creative Chronicles. Now if you're new here, this is essentially the series where we just enjoy our hobbies, we make time for our hobbies, and that can be any of the hobbies that we have, whether that's starting a new one, going to a hobby event, or just doing some hobbies at home. It's a bit of a mix and match. For this weekend specifically, I do have a few things that I want to do. First and foremost, I will be reading Iron Gold. Now, I don't know if I will be able to complete this weekend. I would love to, but we'll see how that goes, and I will speak a little bit more on this in a minute. But that is one of the main things that we will be doing. An additional thing that I will be doing is tomorrow heading into London and going to a sketch class. Now, I was originally going to go to one about a month ago, but there were train strikes that week, so I never made it. There are in fact no train strikes this week, which is perfect. And so I also have tomorrow afternoon off from work. So I will be heading into London. We will be doing a bit of a solo day, maybe taking my book and reading at a cafe or at a park. And then I will be going to a sketch class, which I'm really looking forward to because I've been wanting to do one for ages. So I'm really excited for that. And then I also want to update my archive, which, if you didn't know, is this. And it's basically a combination of my scrapbook, my book journal, my art journal, my journal, and it's a mix and match of all of those things. And what I want to do is, firstly, I taped down a lot of items in this because I didn't have glue at the time, and a lot of those are kind of peeling off. So now that I do have glue, I will be re-sticking those down, and hopefully they will be a little bit more secure. And the second thing that I want to do is update this with a spread based on what I did last weekend, which is actually a separate vlog, and I just want to update a spread in that in terms of what I got up to, some pictures, the books that I read, and the painting that I did, and things like that, and maybe write down some thoughts as well. So I will also be updating that. But in terms of today, like I mentioned, I will be reading Iron Gold. If you don't know what this is part of the Red Rising series, and this is in fact the fourth book. What happened was I ended up taking a bit of a break from this series. So this is sci-fi dystopian. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters, and the original trilogy we focus on a set of characters, and then this book time jumps from the end of the third book, Morningstar, and we have multiple BOVs, we have new characters, we have some of the old characters from the original trilogy in this series as well, and there's a lot going on, and I just needed a bit of a break because the first three books, like I said, there was a lot going on, but there was a lot of heartbreak, there was a lot of friendship, there was a lot of betrayal, there was romance, it's dystopian, it's sci-fi, there's just a lot going on in this world on a global scale, but also for individual characters as well and their dynamics too, and I just needed a little bit of a break. I actually don't remember when I paused this, so I don't know how long it's been, but I'm ready to get back into this series. I am currently on chapter 14, and I think it will take me a couple of chapters just to get back into the book, kind of remember where we are, who these new characters are, what we're doing, and where we're at. So I am going to be picking this back up today and reading it over this weekend. Hopefully I can finish it, but we'll see how that goes. But this evening I'm going to be reading it. I do have the audiobook as well, so I will be doing an immersive read. I've really enjoyed doing an immersive read of this series so far, so I will be continuing with that, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on this evening. Okay, so I am now on chapter 18, so I have definitely progressed. It did take me a couple of chapters to get back into the story, to kind of remember what happened at the start of this book, but I am back in this world, back with these characters, and I'm enjoying it. I do feel myself kind of preparing to have my heart broken again and again and again, because that is exactly what this series does to you. And am I ready for it? No, but I am as ready as I'll ever be. I also want to not only binge this book, but also binge the next two books in this series. And then actually what's next on my summer TBR is to read the Hunger Games. However, I'm definitely going to need a break between this series and the Hunger Games series. I will probably read some romantasy, maybe I'll do some rereads, just something to give me a bit of a break between two dystopian book series. But for now, I'm going to keep going with this. We're going to keep reading. I'm going to continue with my immersive read because I really do enjoy that. And yeah, hopefully I can get to about 50% of the way through this book today, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I have in fact moved locations. I've got my picnic blanket out, I've got my water, I've got my book, I've got my phone for the audio. I love reading on this picnic blanket in the garden. It's just so nice. It's a nice break from where I normally read, and it just brings me back down to earth, and I feel like I can really focus on my book. I am actually now on part 2 of the story, and I just started chapter 25, so we are making progress. I don't know what percentage that is, which is 39% of the way through, so I can definitely read another 10%, and I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this. We are jumping between different POVs, which I think I mentioned, so we've got a few different timelines kind of happening, not timelines, we've got a few different character stories developing in parallel to one another, which is fun, but also I keep getting a little bit confused because I am getting back into the story, but I'm still enjoying it. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to get to the climax soon, so I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm enjoying it quite a lot. There's a lot going on, but we're having a good time.
They will come, they will come, like the sun, like the sun. They will be, they will be.
Good afternoon. It is in fact the next day, and I am off for the rest of the day. In terms of Iron Gold, I have managed to get to chapter 34, which is 55% of the way through, so we're just over halfway, and I am back into this world, back with these characters, back into this story, and I'm enjoying it so much. I'm so glad to be back with it and to just be enjoying a book series again. I can definitely see myself rereading the first book for sure, because I loved the first book. A lot of people said that it took them a couple of books to get into this series, but I loved it from the first one, and I can see myself rereading not only that, but maybe even the entire series. I may reread the entire series when the 7th book comes out. That is a possibility because I don't reread very often, but I've recently been feeling like I want to. The only books I've really reread are the Shepherd King duology, which were actually part of the first books that I read as an adult that got me back into reading. So those are kind of the only books that I've reread. But recently I've really wanted to reread a few other books that I've really enjoyed, from this to the Ember Quartet, and I think I might try and make more time for rereads. But getting back to Iron Gold, I am enjoying it, and I am going to be taking the physical copy along with me. I will probably be listening to the audiobook quite a bit, but I do want to take this with me. I was originally going to take my picnic blanket, but I would rather fit this than the picnic blanket, and I'm feeling more inclined to walk around, listen to the audiobook. Maybe I can find some park and I will sit on a bench and read rather than taking my picnic blanket, because recently I have done a few solo reading sessions at parks and in the garden on my picnic blanket, so I'm kind of yearning for something else instead today, which is why I think I'm not going to take the blanket. I'm going to take the physical copy of my book because that will fit without the blanket. Otherwise I don't think they'll both fit together. And I want to go for a walk, listen to the audiobook, enjoy the weather in London, and also maybe go to a cafe and grab a coffee, maybe even read at a cafe as well. I am also heading to a sketch class at the Royal Academy of Arts, and now I have never done a sketch class in person before ever. I have done a couple of online ones with the Royal Academy, but I've never done one in person, and I am excited, but I'm also quite nervous. Sketching is something that I do every now and then. It's not something that I do every day or every week or that I make loads and loads of time for. It's definitely a hobby that I do every now and then when I'm in the mood to do it, and whilst I am trying to focus more on the journey of it, I do want to improve, but I don't want to put too much pressure on it. I definitely want it to remain just something that I enjoy, even if I'm not good at it. However, going in person to a sketch class makes me feel like I'm going to be surrounded by people who know how to draw really well and do it all the time, and that is kind of intimidating, but I'm going to try and let go of that and just enjoy it for myself and have a nice time learning something new and practicing a hobby that I enjoy. This sketch class is in Piccadilly and you can't book tickets. It's first come, first served, and so I definitely want to get there earlier so that I can make sure that I get a spot. I've also never been to the location, so I need to find out where it is, and I've never been to the gallery there either, so I also want to give myself time to explore the gallery too. So I'm going to be heading straight to Piccadilly, and like I said, I'll be listening to the audiobook, walking around, maybe going for a coffee, and then I will head to the Royal Academy and browse around in the gallery because I've never seen it before, and then hopefully get there early so that I can get a spot in the class. So I'm really looking forward to that. I am nervous, like I said, but I'm excited. It will be good. I am taking this sketchbook with me. It's brand new because I actually just finished my A5 sketchbook, and I feel like this size is pretty good. It's not as small as my A6 sketchbook because I think that would be too small to do this with, but the A4 feels a bit too intimidating, so I think this is the perfect size for me for today. And I will also be taking my graphite pencils and some pens. Those are the materials that I'll be taking because that's what I prefer to draw with. But let's head straight into London. The class is from 6 to 8 p.m, so we do have a good couple of hours. It will probably take me about an hour and a half to get to Piccadilly, and then we'll see what the time is and see how much time we have to walk around and go to a cafe and things like that. But I think we've got good time to do this, and I just want to enjoy the afternoon slash evening. I have been loving going to these hobby events and having like a solo date beforehand. They have been something that I've really looked forward to. Most of the time they're bookish related. I usually go to a silent book club or something like that. So I've never done one where the hobby event that I'm going to is sketching. So I'm excited to do that, but I really do love doing a solo date beforehand. It just makes me feel really connected and just really enjoying my time. So let's head into London. Okay, so after some reading and a gorgeous walk in the sun, I ended up grabbing some dinner because I didn't want to be hungry whilst I was at the class. So I spent some time having some food, having a drink, doing some reading, doing some people watching, and just taking a bit of a moment for myself, because I used to dream about doing solo dates like this where I would take myself out for dinner or drink and then go to a gallery or a class of some sort, and I would just always make up excuses for myself. So it was really just a moment to reflect on how far I've come in terms of my personal journey. But after I had the dinner, I did head towards the class. Now, I've never been to this location before, so I did get a little bit lost because the entrance that maps took me to was actually closed. So it took me a minute to find the correct entrance, and then I realized it's on the exact same road as Waterstones and the Hatcher's bookshop, which I go to anytime I'm on a bookish day in London. And so it was nice to know that they're all kind of near each other, so I would definitely try and go more often. And then I headed to the class. Okay, let's catch up. Firstly, yesterday was so nice. Okay, not only did I walk around in the sun, but I also went for like a solo dinner before I went to the class, because I realized the class was 6 to 8, which is normally the time that I have dinner. So I thought I would have it beforehand, and I had a strawberry daiquiri, I had some pasta, I had a dessert, and it was so nice. And I did some reading as well. I haven't done like a solo dinner date in so long, or any kind of solo date in a restaurant in a long time. I've done a lot of cafe ones, I've done a lot of reading ones, but I haven't done a restaurant one in a while. So it was really nice to do. It was just nice to also have a drink on my own and do a little bit of reading, a little bit of people watching, and it was just so nice to do. So I did in fact enjoy that. And then I went to the class. Now, I thought the class would be more similar to the online classes where someone is actually kind of taking you through an exercise and telling you tips and tricks as you go along. However, this was not that. They had 4 different rooms and they had exercises in each of those rooms, and you did have someone on 1 or 2 of them who was telling you what the exercise was, but majority of it was just you drawing yourself. So like, for example, there was this one where they had a huge sheet of paper, they had a pencil attached to this long wooden stick, and you were just drawing with it, and everyone was drawing on the same piece of paper. Another one was a bit more reflective and writing down your thoughts on how your experience was. Another one was, which was probably my favorite one and a lot of people's favorite one, which was they had a bunch of different objects kind of set up on a long table and you were just drawing them. So I did think they would have a bit more of instruction or direction to do with it, and people maybe actually teaching you tips and tricks, and you would kind of go along with it that way, because that is what the online classes have been like. So it wasn't that, but I did still enjoy it. It was still a new experience, another way to draw and to meet people who like to draw as well. So I did enjoy it. I did think there would be a bit more instruction to it, which there wasn't. It's made me realize a couple of things. First, I would like to go and do it again, and maybe at another gallery, because I think there are a few different galleries that do something similar. So I would like to do it again. The second thing I've realized is I think I need to do more solo sketching dates where I go to a new location and draw, whether that's a cafe, whether it's going to a gallery and drawing, whatever it may be, but just doing that, because a lot of the time when I do solo days, I read, but I think if I do it with drawing, I think it will just help me to sketch more, because I tend to find myself wanting to draw but not knowing what to draw, and because I usually draw at home, there's only so many things that are in front of me that I then want to draw. Otherwise it just becomes very repetitive and I don't want to keep drawing the same thing over and over again. So I think if I take my sketchbook out and I go to a new location, a new cafe or a park, whatever it may be, I think that will really help me to just branch out a little bit more, draw some new things and experiment a little bit more. So that is something that I do want to start doing more often. Maybe that will be like once a month where I try and do a solo sketch day. Then the third thing that I realized is I need to start joining the online classes again, because I really liked those. I thought they were very helpful in the sense that yes, you're not in person, but you are getting instruction and you're getting tips and tricks as you go along, which is what I thought that yesterday's class would be. And it did feel like it was missing that, and so it's made me realize that I just need to do those online classes again. I don't know why I stopped. I think there was like a month or two where the online classes were just at times or days when I couldn't make it, and then I kind of forgot about them. So I definitely want to do those again. Those are monthly classes and they're usually like a Saturday morning, so I would like to do those again. I didn't end up sketching in my sketchbook because I kind of gave you the materials to use, so I did end up using those, and I was just like drawing on them and messing around with a few of the different exercises. So that's how that went. So to summarize, I enjoyed it. It was a new experience and it was a new way to kind of draw and play around with different things, but I do wish we had a bit more of an instruction to it and a bit more direction. So I will hopefully do some more online classes and also do some solo sketching dates in new locations, because I think that would really help. And I really enjoyed it yesterday, just going to a new place to draw and to give myself time to draw. So I do want to do that. In terms of Iron Gold, I have made such progress. Okay, I am about 80% of the way through. So I've just started chapter 52 and I am enjoying this so much. I am having a great time with the different characters and how the different storylines are overlapping and how the characters are kind of intertwining with one another and how things are developing, and I'm really enjoying it. So I've got about 20% left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue listening to the audiobook whilst I update my archive. So there's a couple of things that I want to do in my archive today. The first one is I do in fact have my glue now, so I am going to go through each page, and if anything is like lifting from the tape, I'm going to re-stick it down with the glue. The second thing that I want to do is I want to create a spread of what I did last weekend. So I did do a separate vlog on last weekend, but I want to do a spread on that in terms of what I got up to. So I think I'm going to print off a few pictures, and I also want to print off some of the books that I read last weekend, and I want to also update it with a painting that I did. So I want to do a bit of a mix and match of how last weekend went, and I think I want to do a similar thing with this weekend and kind of reading Iron Gold and going to the art class yesterday, and I want to have another spread for that. So those are two spreads that I want to do. So I think that's what I'm going to do.
Smooth as a silky pillowcase, slither in my innocent oasis. You bring the pain, I deliver patience. I see the lion and try to tame him. I know the werewolf behind the sheep, familiar the scent of deceit behind your pretty teeth. Saying need space to breathe, but what does that really mean? I don't believe when you said to me you really need space to breathe. What you really got up your sleeve, I don't believe when you said to me you really need space to breathe. I know something's up your silky little sleeve, your silky little sleeve. Something's up your silky little sleeve, silky little sleeve.
Okay, so I have in fact updated my archive with both of those spreads, so one for last weekend and one for this weekend, and I really like how they turned out, and I'm so happy that I've got them all kind of combined into one spread, whereas before when I was separating them into 4 different spreads on 4 different journals, it was definitely getting overwhelming, and I find it so much more enjoyable to have it all in one. So I'm really happy with how those turned out. And then I have in fact finished reading Iron Gold. I finished the audiobook right when I was tidying up all of my scrapbooking stuff, and I am going to give this 3.75 stars. Okay, I enjoyed it. It definitely did take me a minute to get back into the story and to learn about the new characters as well as the old characters and just to get back with it, but I have officially got back to it and I did enjoy it. I like the way that the different storylines kind of intertwined and how they were working in parallel to one another. It was really enjoyable to read, especially when things started to click. I am pretty much gonna pick up the next book straight away, or at least in the next day or two, because I am invested in the story again. I'm back in it and I want to binge it. So I definitely did enjoy it. I do still feel the craving to reread the first book, so I might end up doing that. Maybe once I finish Dark Age and Lightbringer, or maybe before I read those. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. But I do just feel the yearning to reread the first book because I loved it so much, and I remember the feeling when I read it and how much I enjoyed the book, and I kind of want that feeling back. So I might in fact reread that before I read the next 2 books, but I'll see. I'm not sure if I will or not, but I do really have that feeling. But I have enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I've got back not only into this book but into this series, and then I've got back to my summer TBR because I did detour a little bit. So I'm glad that we're back into it and we're ticking off these books and we're enjoying them and we're making the most out of them. I loved this weekend, not only in terms of my scrapbooking and reading and my hobbies, but also going into London and having a solo day and then bringing sketching back into my life a little bit. I think yesterday's event really helped open me up to bringing sketching back on a more regular basis, whether that's sketch solo dates, whether that's going to galleries and sketching, just getting back into it again because I have missed it and I have been struggling on how to implement it back into my life without it feeling like too much pressure, but also being able to improve whilst enjoying it. So I think doing the solo sketching dates, going to galleries and drawing, and doing some online classes again would really help with that. And maybe I will go to a few ones in person as well, but I will kind of plan those out as we go along. So I'm really happy with how this weekend went. I love summer. I love London in summer. I love all of my hobbies in summer. This is probably the first year that I've really had so many hobbies and really put this much time into it, but it really has helped me to just enjoy my me time so much more and also not waste my me time, because before I would just watch TV shows and movies, which I still like to do, but I would watch them to the point where I actually didn't want to watch them. I just didn't have anything else to do. Whereas now doing all of these hobbies, going to these events has really helped me to just make the most out of my time a lot more than I was previously. So I'm really happy with how that went and I am so looking forward to continuing it. But thank you so much for spending some time with me and for joining me on this episode of Creative Chronicles. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I also do have an Instagram for more day-to-day updates if you want to check that out. But other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye.